Hi, I'm Andy Bush, economist at andrewbush.com, and I'm out running around in my car right now, and I thought I'd just pop out a quick video. It's been an insane couple of weeks for the financial markets, and here, let me just pull over so I can talk and make sense instead of trying to drive. And really, the topper for this insanity was the meltdown in the oil futures contract on Monday. You know, when I was Chief Market Intelligence Officer at the U.S. government, it was my job to monitor this crazy kind of movement and then quickly explain it to Treasury and Congress and the White House about what was going on and why. So in this video, we're going to talk about oil, why it dropped, and what it tells us about the U.S. economy and jobs. So here's a quick question. Can anyone remember when oil was above $100 a barrel? Let me think about that. No, I don't think so. No, actually, I do. It was back in March of 2008. I did look it up to see exactly what it was, but it hit a high of $143.67. And that was pre-crisis and pre-fracking days. And man, have things changed since then. So prior to the outbreak of the virus, the world demand for crude oil was about 100 million barrels per day. And the U.S. was producing really a record about 13 million barrels per day. So just amazing how far you've come. But due to the virus outbreak and the shutting down of the U.S. economy, with other countries shutting down as well, it's estimated now that demand is only 70 million barrels per day. That's right, 70. In other words, there's this huge gap of about 30 million barrels per day that nobody wants, and apparently nobody can store it. And that's why the futures price of crude on Monday dropped to minus $40 a barrel. That's right, minus $40 a barrel. It's pretty crazy, right? Now, this is the classic more sellers than buyers, but it comes with a twist, right? The poor twist is this, is the SOTs, right? Those guys that were long the contracts and didn't want to take delivery before Tuesday's settlement, they had to sell to get out, or they would have to actually take physical delivery of the oil and then store it someplace. So they were selling it at almost any price, right? It's the first time I've ever seen a price go negative like that. Now, the main storage facilities for crude oil are essentially, they're filled up all the way to the top. And basically, there was no facility that could take any more. Basically, no room at the end. So literally, selling below zero meant you were paying somebody else to take the oil. And no, sadly, it doesn't mean when you go to the gas station that they will pay you to fill up your tank. Now, it doesn't quite work that way. However, since Monday, now prices have gone back up a bit, but it's still down significantly. And this is really bad news for the oil industry because they're going to have to be shutting down production and exploration and really firing workers shortly if they're not doing it already. This clearly is a catastrophe for all U.S. energy firms, energy workers in Texas and Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, and North Dakota and other states. This is just really bad news on top of the shutdown that's occurring. And this really underscores the fact that the economic shutdown has collapsed transportation and the demand for energy that fuels it. And it certainly highlights, and this is really important, it highlights that there is really a huge need to reopen the U.S. economy. People are losing their jobs. People can't make rent. And it doesn't matter how much the government gives them. You got to reopen the economy. And governments around the world, now this is the good news, are really trying to figure out how to exit their economic shutdowns. Austria, Germany, Norway, and the Czech Republic, these countries are all reopening nurseries and schools and shops, which is good news. Now, in the U.S., the White House has put forward, as you probably saw, the 20-page Reopening America guidelines to help states and governors try to figure this out. They have different phases and different metrics that they want to try to hit, but you got to remember each state has a different geography and culture and density really that they have to take into consideration on when to reopen their economy. Some can do it right away, some, like New York, can't. And I know many of you are saying, how can we do this if more people get sick and die? Well, the fact is that this has never been an exercise in completely stopping the virus or protecting everyone against it. And I really think that The Economist magazine said this best, and it was in last week's issue, if you get a chance to check it out, but they said it best when they said this. The accepted wisdom is that countries can begin to consider easing restrictions when the number of cases is tapering off and their hospitals have free beds. Okay, in other words, what they're saying is that when states or countries can figure out when they can accommodate a surge in infections that could follow an easing of a lockdown, that's when you can reopen your economy. And it's my belief that the U.S. is well on its way to generate the capacity for PPE gear, hospital beds, and therapies to combat another surge. And the therapies are really important because if you know you can get sick and then get better, well, that's pretty good. Now, I'm guessing this is going to happen by the end of April or maybe just after. And as a nation, we've got to try to we really got to balance out the health versus the economy. Now, we've chosen health and outweighed the economy. However, as we understand more about the virus and we get, as I mentioned, all that capacity, we can balance and rebalance that out to make it better for everyone in the country. I mean, and we've really got to start to consider the 22 million people that have lost their jobs and filed for unemployment, because reopening the economy, it really can't come faster for them. Okay, to wrap this up, oil collapsed and went negative as an indicator, both of the massive imbalance between supply and demand out there, but also it's a massive indicator of the collapse in the global economy due to the shutdowns. Now, the good news is that the U.S. and other countries are trying to figure out how to reopen and reopen as soon as possible. Okay, if you like this video and want to get them every week, click subscribe below. If you want to learn more about what's going on with COVID and why I think May 1st is going to be when we reopen the economy, click the video below and see what that's all about, and I'll see you in it.